At the start, I'd like to acknowledge Tad relentlessly catching me for this talk, and it's a pleasure to be with you all. And so, what I'm going to do for the next maybe half an hour to 45 minutes, I will ensure I'll keep dinner in mind and make sure that this talk, you guys have a good dinner. So, coming to the topic, we had looking at work-life integration, and what's fascinating to talk about this is we are all struck by the pandemic. We are resigned to the pandemic. There's lots of talk that we'll probably this existence may continue till probably some people are speculating till at least June, July of next year. So what I've done is I've sort of wanted to put my thoughts about the work-life integration concepts and give you all certain tips, more or less, because most of us know some of it. But also in COVID times, how do we sort of reassign our brain to work-life integration? So, giving this introduction, I thought I'll sort of move on. So what is work-life integration? Basically, I remember a few years back, maybe 10 years ago, when I was asked to speak at Cognizant and all, it was all work-life balance. And I remember telling, when Tad told me this topic, I said, yeah, work-life balance. Then he smiled and said, no, ma'am. Work-life balance is old. Now we have to talk work-life integration. So to be honest with all of you, it's been also a learning experience for me to sort of look at work-life integration and what is it that it offers to all of us. So, in a nutshell, integration means you're sort of blending work and life and making sure. So, people felt when you talk work-life balance, it's like saying, you know, when you look at balance, that means you're equaling something, and it's very difficult to equal work with life, because to tell you all one very easily understandable, I think I see women participants, and if we all are married right now, IPL is going on, and I'm sure all men and some women, I'm not making it very gender biased, but most men are now hooked on to IPL, and it's very difficult to have work life balance where if your partner is it's work and cricket, so work life balance, the whole thought was over the years received a little flack, and they felt it's better to use this concept of integration. In some ways it is the same wine in a new bottle, but I think with integration gives you a little more it's more holistic, if I can use that word. So if you look at the picture on the right, the whole work life integration is not only your home and family and work, well-being, and that's, I think it's very synonymous of what we are doing today about Well-Be Wednesday. So it's well-being and health, how you connect to the community, and so integration at all levels. So sorry. Now, I mean, also remember, as this concept took force, it's not only about, even from an organizational perspective, it's not just become an individual concern. So it's become a policy issue. It's become gender, diversity, equality. A lot of organizations are opening up into inclusiveness. And given the pandemic, it's become a huge international concern also. So it's a very, like, how are we going to move forward in the next couple of years? Or even if we can't think so much, let's look at the next 8 months. How are we going to do work life integration? Will be a very important milestone that we achieve. I also want to highlight here is, see, like, for example, isn't it amazing that we are all sitting wherever we are sitting, and I'm able to address all of you digitally, right? I mean, who would have thought, see, I'm not revealing my age here. I had only a black telephone and, and Doordarshan. So from that era to sort of see how much of digital, like a digital tsunami has happened. Work life integration is always talked about as now a very digital thing. um, in this concept, I mean, I found this on Google Images and I thought this is very interesting in our current times. Who is leading the digital transformation of your company at this point? uh, Always remember it's the COVID, and I think COVID has just taken all our lives by storm. um, while I'm on this, I just want to first talk about well-being. And I think, in the introduction, Mr. Divakar highlighted it in a very significant way, talking about health and the WHO's motto. And I think well-being is very, very important, because what is well-being? So well-being, remember, your personal dignity, physical, mental, emotional well being. You must ensure that you're protected from any abuse or neglect. How are you participating in work, training? How are you recreating yourself? Looking at your finances, economical well being, social well being. How is your living space, accommodation? I think right now a lot of families have still not asked the servants to come in. So people, even though you can say you're sitting at home and working, I mean, I'm talking about IT professionals, or even teachers. I think teachers who are teaching the whole day online and are expected to do the household chores, it's going to be, it's really hard in this time to balance all that. So well-being also then finally looks at the individual's contribution to society. So with this background, so there are about 9 areas described for well-being. What is very, very important is to look at this scale, since my topic was on well-being and looking at psychosocial well-being. I'm just going to be a little slow on this slide, and I will encourage participants to, I'm going to read each statement, and if you guys can just rate yourself. So if for the first statement, so this is rated from strongly disagree, which is 1, to strongly agree to 7, the scale. And if I asked you, I lead a purposeful and meaningful life, um, you guys can even use your cell phone and just rate it. My social relationships are supporting and rewarding. I am engaged and interested in my daily activities. I actively contribute to the happiness and well being of others. I am competent and capable in the activities that are important to me. I am a good person and live a good life. I am optimistic about my future, and people respect me. So, with all these statements, if you guys can rate and just tally it, and remember the lowest would be 8 and the highest is 56. And if you have a higher rating, it means that your psychological resources, your strengths are much better. So, this is a nice, in fact, an easy tool to just rate based on what we talked about well being. So I'm hoping few of you or most of you have rated and are looking at your psychosocial well-being here. I also thought it's very, very important. Like I said, I like to think I'm a young, old lady sitting here in front of you guys, but we have to, when we're looking at work-life integration, look at, there are multiple generations at work. If you look at earlier literature, they say 4 generations, but now by 2020, there is this whole XYZ generation, or so I think the slide is very self-descriptive, but I mean, I'm not someone who likes to just keep reading off slides. So just to say that in an organization, you'll have the traditionalists who are very loyal to the workspace. You'll have the baby boomers born 1946 to 1964. Of course, I'm sure we are dealing with people in the 1960s or who are in their senior. So those people are very hardworking. The Gen X, or they are more, I mean, they've started getting exposed to the mobile phone and internet. The millennial gang, who are very community oriented, confident, diverse, Google, Facebook. and the Gen 2020. So age 15 and younger, very optimistic, high expectation, totally into the social media, social game, tablet devices, apps. So, I have a comment here that people can't see the slides.
Yeah, we are working on that, madam. There's some of them there who are not able to see it. So
Oh, very
something to do
sad.
with technology of and devices. We're working it. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So remember the global workforce generation is like this. So you have a silent generation, like I said, the boomers, the Gen X, the Gen Y, Gen Z. So you're dealing with all these people, and I think there are a lot of people from organizational levels. So how do you deal with all of them to help them integrate? You know. So, in many ways, remember, I mean, I did talk about that. So, the traditionalist people are very, like I said, hardworking, but they make do. Do or, I mean, they have, in fact, they have a very top down approach. They value authority. The next group is, they're very workaholics, expect some degree of, regarding their opinions. They would like, if you're sort of trying to lead them and help them at their workspace, they would like to have an alternate view. I mean, like you suggesting and deferring with them. Gen X is very, very comfortable with authority, will work very hard. They give very much importance to work life balance. And why I'm talking so much about Gen Y, and the next generation is when I tell you all stuff on how to do, it's very important to value the age of the person in front of you. Otherwise, if you're a traditionalist or a boomer dealing with Gen Y in a very top down approach, it will all go haywire. So, the Gen Y respect, they feel respect must be earned, very tech savvy people, very achievement oriented. And remember, the Gen Z is the scariest for the traditionalists because they are very digital natives. It's like as if they're born with a cell phone, right? So they are fast decision makers, highly connected. They could. So these are the guys who will tell you 6 months in a job, very bored, or there's no work-life balance or work-life. I mean, they come. I get to see so much of people who say, "Oh, the company was too much, asking me to work 10 p.m. and all. My manager wants to get me on to calls. I will not attend the call." So again, I find no fault in that because this is the person who's coming from this generation. So I'm saying we have to keep them in mind if you're going to help them with work life integration. So, since I gave you what well being is all about, remember work life integration, you must always, like I said, it has to be individualized, it has to be personalized. And we live in a society where by the time, if you are earning and 25 to 30, this whole pressure of marriage starts. And then it's a tough choice to meet the life challenges for most of them, trying to integrate their responsibilities, their career, their activities. And most of them, it becomes that each sphere in their life becomes a very competing challenge for this individual. And not to forget, we are in COVID times where all of us are working remotely. Of course, for doctors, it's different. So, for the rest of most people who are working from home, and I think now some companies have started, opening up offices. So, this has been huge now, working remotely, which is in fact, I'm going to look at it as an opportunity during COVID to present work life integration. So remember, the concept is you must work with passion. You must focus on the choices you make. You must try and exercise control because sometimes what you want may take some time. So you need to sort of regulate the challenges that you face. And always keep in mind that you're meeting your responsibilities or managing your responsibilities of personal and family life, keeping the circumstances of yourself in mind or the individual in mind. The reality is, it's, see, I thought it's easy. I mean, it's easy to say, hey, juggle and struggle and, oh, this is life, but it's very hard. So I think, depending on it from an organizational hierarchy, if let's say I'm a TL talking to somebody in my team, I need to keep in mind that, like I said, which generation they belong, the kind of responsibility that person has, and let's say he's stressed out, burnt out, give a listen to him, hear him out. And because I see a lot of organizations where there's a huge stigma to mental health. And many a times when somebody comes to me, and they'll always ask me, madam, and the letter la, please don't write depression or andha vyadi, just stress nu podunga, so and it's sad, no, we have all these seminars, we educate people, but the same company, I'm talking about HR and other people, I get so many calls saying, can we take him back, can we keep him, he's so stressed out. So this is actually quite a catch 22 situation, where at some point all of us have the education, but when it comes to eradicating stigma, giving mental health what it deserves, there is a lot of mental health gap. So, what some people talk about work life integration is how we manage our energies. I mean, each one's energies are so different, that how you manage your demands, your priorities, and that, if we validate for the people who come to us, it's very, very important. So you could have so many challenges. I mean, I'm just talking to the group I know, but I'm just addressing, somebody would find their clinical work, administrative work, research, career. You could find your family a big challenge. You could feel that you can't see your friends. I have a lot of men who ventilate to me that now they can't meet their friends for a drink. And don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating this, but I'm just saying, sometimes men like to chill with their boy gang, and they can't understand why women insist on being there. So that could be a big challenge, on how to make your spouse understand, hey, I just want to be with my male friends. Again, sometimes I've had a lot of people ventilating, saying that they don't get time for exercise or pursue their hobbies. And I've actually encountered a lot of people who've decided to quit at in sometimes when people come and say they're doing well in their professional life, but they say that the dilemma is, I just want to quit because I want to pursue something before I hit an age where I can't pursue this hobby. So even a hobby and interest could be a big challenge that you are facing in your life. The other thing I think is very, very important is, when you are when sort of when you're dealing with somebody, and when you're trying to look at it, when somebody is facing this, how do I integrate myself? There's this concept called triad. So to tell you what triad is, it's easy because I'm a doctor. So let's say somebody comes to the emergency, the casualty is the triad. So if somebody comes with fever, there's an emergency physician there saying, okay, is this fever? First, let's screen for COVID. Then, if it's COVID negative, let's send this person to, fever could be anything. Fever could be a urinary infection, fever could be TB, fever could be dengue. So, if you're looking at work life integration, you must do a triage to yourself. Ippo, what is it that I'm conflicted about? Is it my work? Is it my home? And this looking for this perfect. So, that's why it's nice that this concept of work life balance is dropped. And interestingly, see, when I was looking through literature, a lot of this word came across about soul searching, soul searching to determine. So I don't want to sound like some Satguru and all that, but I mean, no offense to Sadhguru. I'm just saying that there's a lot of soul searching being talked about in work life integration. What is it do you want? Um, so look at it and live that life what you want to achieve without feeling guilt. So even if you can be, so they say you do the soul searching and find out what you're passionate about, you can be flexible about it. So my biggest thing is that it's very, very important to sort of understand what you're passionate about, what you want to do. So in terms of your job role or the role that you have to deliver at work, and then it's up to you how, if you look at your family as a work, then that's where we, in fact, they say that an attitudinal change needs to be there. So it's about delving within, introspecting to find out where you're looking for this balance and integrating it. Millennials. So there was in 2015, interestingly, there was this whole marketing survey where millennials talked about better work-life balance, and they said that 33% of them were managing everything, and it's become very difficult. And 75% talked about work flexibility and still be on track for promotion. 47% reported that work hours have increased a lot, and 78% who are, see, there is this whole concept about dual career couples, and they felt that most of them who were part of this survey were nearly 80% of them were dual career couples. So interestingly, these are the, so if you look at all of these groups, all of them talk about difficulty, work hours being more, you know and millennials now don't care about work life, they demand the work life integration. So that's something that you guys have to look at. So example of a work life integration would be, like I would start with, this is nice, no, a middle-aged employee saying, taking out time for hobbies, theater, music class. People close to retirement decide. See, I had actually, I was seeing, for example, I was seeing a CEO who said uh, he's fed up of this, so he just wanted to retire, write a book on how, because he was part of a lot of takeovers, he wanted to write a book on how to do an ideal takeover. And he said he just wanted to do some trekking, and this he was in his late 40s, and he said, enough, enough of this, I just want to do that and take a break. uh, Mom and dad, parents taking time off, and in for their child, employee who wants to work extra hours, and save some money, or a young graduate who's just joined, is ready for that 60 hour or plus work hour to learn new skills. So all this, that's why what I'm again and again repeating is, it's very individualized. So there's no, okay, I mean, of course I'm going to tell you all general stuff, general sort of a roadmap, but you have to understand that it's very, very individualized. So there are 7 elements in this life integration framework. Remember: fitness, fun, work, finances, friends, and family. So remember that this is the vision, or this is the template to follow. And a lot of people have talked about minding the gap and reducing and managing all these 5 generations in the workplace, and and make sure that they have. So the generation Z that I talked about wants constant feedback. I had a couple of them complaining to me that when we ask for feedback, the manager says, "Oh, why do you keep wanting feedback? We'll do it once in 3 months." And some people have quit because there's no feedback for them, and they like in-person interactions. They want that. Like a millennial would like more collaborative, technology centric training, like to be mentored, coached. And a Gen X would, like a hands off management policy. I mean, most of them are very entrepreneurial oriented. And so they like, I mean, they know what they're doing, they don't like too much of interference. The baby boomers are, remember, traditional, reserved, very ethical. So they like learning, they're a little reserved in communication. And the traditionalists are the typical hierarchical management style, slow to adapt to new technology and very loyal to the company. So I'm again and again highlighting is you, because you have a potpourri of people in your organization. One size doesn't fit everybody, and you need to think about it. So, see, I just looked up, and this is from Oracle, who talks about work life integration, how digital devices, remote working, social media interaction, and flexi hours was so I which was interesting that this is the way that they're trying to make uh, this integration possible. um, and there is a lot of work going on. In fact, there's a 2018 publication by the government of India also for empowering digital empowerment for women, especially in looking at gender diversity and equality. So remember, I'm saying this again and again, the X, Y, and Z are very, very important when you're dealing with them. Also coming on to the see, this whole thing is connected to your health functioning, subjective well-being. See, sometimes a lot of what is fascinating in psychology is, that's the secret I want to share today. The same masala dosa will have different names. So if I what I'm trying to say is, subjective well-being will be talked in terms of health functioning, identity, values, traits, abilities. And if you look at when I talked about well-being and work-life integration, I did say well-being means dignity, respect. So pretty much the same meanings, but certain themes are overlapped. But in psychosocial well-being, one additional thing is, a lot of factors are stressed on biophysical ecology, meaning physical health. See, there's been a lot of studies looking at work life integration and cardiovascular health. Okay, so we get all these WhatsApp messages of early heart attacks, and the person is fit, exercising, you can't explain it. So some things are not explainable, but just to keep that in mind, that there's a lot of research going on looking at your physical health and its correlation to mental health. So that's why I put up this on the side to talk about this mental model of balancing. It's not it's a task to be learned, and to sort of to prioritize what you need in life. And remember, you have to be, if I can use the word, you should be selfless and selfish, because you have to keep your needs in front. You have to think of your family, and it has to not be a very black and white thing, is what I'm trying to say. So this whole wellness and well-being, some 8 dimensions of wellness is being talked about. So in well-being, yes, like spiritual, occupational, physical, intellectual, all this is talked about. In the 8 dimensions, again, this is from the WHO. I just thought I'm just telling you all, see, spiritual, again, spiritual does not mean religious. So don't confuse that. Someone's spirituality could be what that person, so the exact definition is what gives your soul some peace, and you just feel nice. So someone would say that just hitting the gym at 7 a.m. is very spiritual for that person. So it's each one's what that person wants to do in life. This 8 dimensions of wellness, which I talked about: environment, intellectual, physical, like diet, sleep, nutrition, occupational, whether you're having any personal satisfaction from one's work, financial, social. So it is very important and connected to employee well-being and organizational functioning. Very, very important. And personal wellness, see, why I put up all these slides is there's a lot talked about social and relational, connection that you should have with family, friends, co-workers. Also, ensuring that you get fulfillment from your job that you've chosen. Taking care of environment, taking care of water, land, air around us, very, very important. Spiritual, I've had actually I've had people coming to me saying that after this whole, I mean, even pre-pandemic, when we were having the whole post floods and this whole water scarcity, a lot of people thinking, I've had young couples deciding not to have children because fearing the climate change, and and wanted to discuss these issues. So nowadays personal wellness crosses all this: spiritual, environmental, emotional, occupational, physical, intellectual, and social and relational. The other important thing is doing well from the inside out program, it's called. In fact, there are a lot of, in fact, there is this whole, in positive psychology, there's this whole thing about focusing on your happiness and how you can from inside out. So it's about me and we. That is, you're looking at the community. You have to build your well-being, your resilience skills, how to have a positive impact on others around you. How will you sort of look at the community around you? Very, very important. And very important to look at your identity. So here, just quickly to talk about work versus public, family versus private, depending on where you are, which generation you belong to, which part of the world you are in, what kind of choices have you taken in managing your work and personal life. Sometimes we stereotype genders. So I meet a lot of men who love cooking, and thanks to COVID, okay, most men have become excellent quick cooks, and women are very happy these days. So I think there's a lot of work life integration there very well. And policies are changing. See, I also work as an LGBT psychiatrist, and it's very nice to see a lot of workspaces becoming inclusive, uh, and allowing them to express their gender and sexuality. So policies, programs depend and are being modified based on cultural norms, and you must have multiple dimensions of flexibility. So it's very important to look at when, where, how much, and with whom. So just remember that. When do you want to do something? Where do you want to do it? How much do you want to do with your work, with family, with what I said about occupation, with community, with friends? So that becomes your identity. Uh, so this is a nice future proofing of your workforce. So based on all what I told you, just to keep in mind that Google, I mean, Google can become a big. Most organizations say that internet. Most of, at least one third of the activities are very automated, and most of the manual work may go away, and all this talk creating a lot of fear. So why I put this is how to allow, if we are going to be more digitized, how to save the organization. And for that, I mean, this is a chart. I am very okay for the slides to be circulated with the participants. I don't know how you guys can read it, but just talks about what percentage of people like. So I'll try and see if you. These are all in million. 83.1% of people in the US feel that YouTube can be the most trusted learning source. So what I'm trying to say is, in training and development and learning and development in organizations, a lot of people rely on the internet, and most of their learning comes from there. And there's a lot of demand for the skill gap to be reduced from executives, and that's very, very important. So training and development is very, very important. If you want to have a fulfilling work situation. Um, So again, this is for supervisors. What can supervisors do to have organizational stability? Is openly discuss true life barriers with your employees, explore their priorities, schedule some time away with them, explore on and off any resources that they need. Physical, mental, I'm highlighting mental, social, and financial health, very, very important. And make sure that you discuss, give them some definite pat on their back for the successes that they've achieved, what are the challenges that they're facing, for a very nice organizational wide mental health strategy. So uh, this is a nice work life integration for most of the supervisory group. So this is like, it was interesting in our times of PPE. Your psychological PPE for an individual would be take a time off, create space, avoid too much of, right now in COVID times, too much, we call it infodemic. I have literally blocked all these fed up of seeing the COVID news, receiving mental health support if you think you're going through a crisis. You must show. So, a lot of times we talk about acknowledging, doing a gratitude journal to acknowledge things that you feel grateful about, and try and reframe negative experiences as positive. And as a team leader, you can limit staff on site and shift, you design clear roles, you train managers to be aware of risk factors, peer support, make sure it happens, and pair workers together so that there's some buddy system happening, which really helps. So remember, quick time management thing is evaluate your calendar, build personal team resilience, revisit periodically, and always you look at what could be the ideal scenario for you. Keep revisiting it. So between work life and balance versus integration, remember, work life balance would be leaving at 5 p.m., picking up the child, leaving at 6, or shutting off your work phone, use your lunch break to walk the dog, offering everyone a daily free lunch. But integration would be bringing your child to work after school, flexibility to leave earlier and take support calls remotely, bringing your dog to work. I've seen in a couple of offices. I had the pleasure to visit the Google office abroad. Oh, it's amazing. You would really think nobody's working there. Uh, Letting employees choose between a free lunch benefit, or, these are some of the examples. Slide is taking time. Is there an issue with the slide?
Yeah,
No problem. We are able to.
we're able to see. Yeah.
No, I can. Okay. So in COVID-19, I thought it's very, very important. Please make sure you get dressed, feel good. I have somebody who met me last week. She said, "Oh, what if something happens to me and I die? I have so many perfume bottles. I want to just spray. I want to get ready in the morning. Even if I'm wearing a nightie, I want to spray all that perfume." So please dress up, do things. Don't think, oh, you're sitting at home. Why should you dress up? What I mean is, you don't have to, oh, வீட்ல தானே இருக்கோம். Just dress up if you want to dress up. Prayer or meditation, be creative, stay connected, have a video chat with your loved ones. Healthy food, fresh air. I think now, and unplug from social media too much. I mean, easier said than done, I'll admit. Easy to advise, but it's very, very hard in terms of doing it, and it is normal to feel stressed out. So, you know so health tips, remember, most people also talk about practicing compassion in this day and time. So in fact, there are a lot of programs of staying connected. Like, in the sense, if you know, in your building, if you have some elderly people, it's nice. So so this would be an example of work life integration, where you would call them and, are they okay? Do they need anything? Especially, remember when we had the lockdown and we were going through, it was hard to, so if you reach out to elderly people also, it's a way of uh, getting connected with the community and achieving that. I'm sorry that. So there are multiple surveys, just that this looked colorful and I put it. The Indian survey also pretty much says the same thing, that now in COVID times, see, if you look at the slide, people are feeling stressed, anxious, nearly 60%, 40% are eating more, have gained weight. Uh, they've talked about intimacy in 60%, 47% feeling trapped at home. Most people are trying to distract themselves, by 70% of them watching TV. So mental health is a major issue in terms of integrating yourself. And 5 ways they talk about is, remember, check in with your neighbors who are alone or older, stay connected, okay? Keep in touch, catch up with somebody over video call. Of course, Nowadays nobody writes a letter, but at least a text, email, call somebody whom you think is it's very nice to find that time and do it, and share updates about your life. So do these things to feel connected. The other option is this: if you are looking at how to do it spiritually, like I said, each one's spiritual viewpoint could be different. One is from an employee well-being, because that increases their morale, commitment, and productivity. And a lot of them, I know of many organizations who have said yoga, there's a yoga session happening, or there is a, like a team. In fact, I had someone met me and said that, they wanted to reschedule the appointment because there was a happy hour. Everybody sitting in at home, having a glass of from coffee to any kind of liquid that they want, but it was an happy hour, enforced by the organization. So do things to improve the employee well-being. Also makes them get a sense of purpose. Remember, I said work-life integration is about soul searching. It's also about staying connected with the community, and you have a sense of attachment and loyalty. And also, so if you are having this, let's say once, twice a month, you're connected with your organization, and especially now in COVID times where you're feeling totally isolated. And I just thought this was one news put out by WHO, that we should avoid coping strategies like using tobacco, alcohol, and other drugs, because it can worsen your mental and physical well-being. And like what I just said earlier, this is a very nice thing to talk about. If you know somebody has a mental health issue, varying from simple anxiety to insomnia to anything. See, right now with this COVID pandemic, there's a lot of people talking about just anxiety, existential issues. Will something happen to me? So check on them. You can, make sure that, or encourage them to seek professional help if you think you can't handle them. Listen to them, and also make sure that you can, if there's some way you can help them out. For example, some of them are too, initially with this, even now I think a lot of them are scared to order anything online, because this some dunzo or somebody will deliver it outside, and it's very scary to touch the. So you can help them out if you are feeling less anxious about this activity. So remember, being active at home. Try to take, if you can, take exercise classes online, dance to music, play active video games. Skipping rope has been suggested. WHO, okay? Don't ask me why they chose skipping rope. Do some muscle strength and balance training is being advised. Again, like I said, set up a daily routine, eat healthy, practice gratitude, make time to disconnect. I have some people who practice no phone Sundays. So I'm challenging this group. How many of you are willing for a no phone Sunday? And definitely stay connected. This is a nice well-being action calendar. So it pretty much says all that I've talked about. See, for example, it says thank people, offer hugs to your loved ones, try a new activity today, spend time with nature, drink a glass of water before each meal. So this, anyway, my PPT will be sent to all of you. You can look at this calendar and pick any stuff that you would like to do, which will really improve your well-being. I have no what connection to this app. I just thought it was yellow and bright and colorful. So this is again in uh, abroad, where they talk about this joy and emotional well-being app. India, a lot of the alternative therapies have offered a lot of apps like this during our pandemic times to feel better in family and at workspace. And so again, you have real life people connecting to you. You can talk about happiness and things that are bothering you. Virtual interaction. Okay. So look at this. I mean, I can't imagine. Can you imagine a place in Chennai where we could sit like this and work? So one day you work outside office. I think all of us may opt for Marina Beach, right, or some place in ECR. I don't know how the internet would be, but yeah. So Value our organization empowering the employees, and if you can spend at least one day outside, would be great. So remember, it's like this. It's a bidirectional thing, work life and private life, your private life. You want flexible working hours. You want to make sure you take care of your family, but you must also get quality sleep, exercise, hobbies. That's what I'm saying. And if you notice this, love life, very, very important, dating, family, friends. So remember, from balance, we have moved on to integration. We're going to, what I talked about, integrating all this into your life. So 7 steps. I just want, and it's the last few slides of my presentation. Choose your relationships well. Be honest with what you want to do in life. Use a single calendar, meaning what I said, I showed you all that well-being calendar. Choose one thing. Don't choose too many things and make it a clutter. Manage your boundaries, meaning if you're somebody who just, I to just share with you all, I met some people who met me last week. There was 3 couples. So the one, all of them, one of them said, "Oh my God, I don't care if my spouse is not there. Now pandemic, I just want Netflix and Amazon. If internet goes down, that's it. I can't survive." So uh, I'm just saying that there has been excessive use of the OTT and everything. So just keep that in mind. Be innovative, build supportive networks, and be honest with what you want to do. So, how do you integrate life? Remember, I said self discovery, do some bit of career searching, look at what do you want to do in terms of changing your career or, improving your skill set. Do you want to also update your, CV? You want to have your digital footprint. So, a lot of people feel bad that, oh, they would like to be on, uh, improve their profile. So, do things like that, become more tech savvy, because you have to learn also to get digitized. That's what I'm saying, with virtual collaboration tools. So the HR solution is, again, making work more flexible, flexi time, job sharing, sponsoring employees, family oriented activity. I know someone will ask me, in this recession time money is not there, but like I said, you at least, if you could have Zoom calls and make sure everybody gets together, give them that feeling of the organization. Formal leave policy. I think a few weeks back there was this big debate about leave for menstruation, and many women protested, saying they didn't want the whole organization to know that they are having their menstrual phase. But again, there is, some people are very happy with that move, that that's been taken into consideration. So again, that's being discussed, so I didn't bring it up here. And allowing employees to take leave for even community services being talked about. So remember, for work-life integration, you must focus on your values and priorities, hone your time management skills, get organized, establish a mentor network. You must cultivate relationships, invest in family, home, and responsibilities, build a very healthy life. And there's this thing called double dip, meaning, so you may have to uh, dip in the work, dip in the family, and so you don't have to strive towards. So right now, if like what I gave you that example earlier, if there is a possibility of getting the child to work, and if the child can hang around, if that is available in the organization, or if you can work from home remotely, so that would be a double dip. Somebody has to leave office early, go to work, say he's available, but manage if he has to do childcare. So well-being, remember, is a whole concept of in the learning environment. You're having a social connection. You're trying to be flexible. There's a personal development. You're also trying to be inclusive. You also have to have support. You must have community engagement, or we call it the civic engagement. It has to be a positive. Like we talk about even organizations having a positive classroom culture. Also, I just met somebody yesterday who told me he loves Sikkim. He's been there. He's made sure he's got a good internet, and he's just going to go there now. Pandemic time travel. He says, I don't care, in the mountains. I've told my boss work will be done. So this is a new concept. Be a digital nomad. Okay. Just pick your internet and go. After, if there are young people listening, don't blame me if parents find you guys missing this week. Um, so remember, from balance, we've all moved on to integration now. It's about community, connecting, your well-being and your health. Again, I'm saying why this is very important is the Gen Z is going on to become a digital native. So you must have a digital cleanse. That's why I kept talking about this generational. Like I said, no phone Sunday, or for a few hours you won't touch the phone. You must make it as a personal policy. So before going home, see, I started with that scale. So before I end this presentation, I think this is my second last slide. Think of 3 things that went well today. Like, I mean, in your day, identify one thing that was difficult and you let it go. Be proud of the care you delivered today, whether that was a direct patient care or the support you gave to a caregiving community. Of course, this is uh, so it irrespective of your profession, choose one thing you will do for self-care before you return to work. And now switch your attention from here and see if you can relax and be fully present at home. So very, very important to think of this. I mean, I found this as a very nice cartoon. So we are no longer using the term work-life balance because it implies that your life is important. And somebody else says, no, now we call it work-life integration. So it's easier to make you work when you would prefer being with your loved ones. And this person says, yeah, I'd like to give a big thanks to those of you who never had a life, So obviously, that's someone talking to a very traditionalist bloomer person. I thought I'll end this with a nice quote from Sadhguru. Like, you can use this mind either to create well-being or misery for yourself. So everyone has this choice. So remember, it's very individualized. It's finally, when you're talking about work-life integration and psychosocial well-being, it's how much you want to introspect, create this well-being, and understand the importance of it. Thank you very much for a very patient listening.
Thank you, doctor. Attendees, if you have any questions, please you can post it on the comment section, on the chat box here. So we'll be able to take it up to the doctor.
So thank you, Dr. Hema. It was wonderful listening to you as always. And it's a Q&A session, as Mr. Devahar has mentioned. Please feel free to type your questions. Already we have a couple of questions, ma'am. So I just want to ask you to begin with a question from Sabapati Narayan. Mr. Sabapati Narayan. He has asked, he had a guilt-driven performance. He was working with a customer who had a guilt-driven performance culture. So he doesn't know what was driving it. What could possibly be the reason, he's asking?
So, thank you for the question. See, like I said, it all depends on what the expectations in the organization was, and plus, so like I talked about the generation, no? So it depends on who his boss was and what was the ethos of the organization of your customer. Second, his individual. See, you can't just blame the organization, right? So what is it in this individual's thinking that made him feel very guilt driven? And supposing he was not integrating, so let's say he's spending a lot of hours at work and he was neglecting his family. I'm only hypothesizing because you're asking me. You don't know what was driving in and what could be the possible reason, so I'm just telling you that it could be at 3 levels: organizational, individual, and in the individual it could be a conflict between his work and the family.
I think, yeah, that is well said. So it could be the combination of different reasons as well. Yeah, thank you, ma'am, for that. Yet another question from him only. So are there any standards or complaints that is available to figure if an organization practices work-life integration? like the ISO or quality or security standards?
I did look it up. I didn't see. That's why I put up these. See, there are a lot of psychosocial well-being, number of tools, but not very specific to work-life integration kind of a quality tool. I'm honestly unaware with whatever research I did, but there are these, looking at health indices in terms of physical health, mental health, emotional well-being, using those kind of scales to assess. And if I mean Tad and other people have knowledge about it, can share. I'm honestly not aware. I mean, whatever I looked at this because I thought an organization would want something to measure, and I didn't come across anything.
Okay. Okay. So there are some of the complaints. They are part of the sustainability they are talking about. So I think there are ways that they can really complaints that can be mapped with the sustainability measures. Probably that is one way of looking at it. I think so. Otherwise, I'm also not that familiar with those areas as well. So yet another question from one Mr. Ravi Mohan Janardhanan. What could an organization, what an organization policy has to be adopted for individual performance? I am
Sorry, Tad.
So this question is like this. I think what he wanted to understand is what an organization kind of an organizational policy has to be adopted for individual performance.
So, see, in one word, if I had to say, if you're looking at the organization should, I think when I put up that slide about 21st century, work-life integration, it has to go at many levels, right? It has to go from a business viewpoint to, so the individual's performance, if you're looking at, you must also understand that yes, there is a little bit of the organizational need to ensure that the output from the individual is on par with what the organization wants. And keep in mind all this. So remember, I showed you all the, there was a slide where I was talking about personal wellness and, from organizational to physical to spiritual, and the three ways that an employee can feel good. So the policy should sort of include a spiritual path. When I say spiritual path, again and again reiterating, the policy can, the organization can decide on what, like I was saying, yoga. And in fact, there are many mindfulness based workshops, where the organization demands that that most individuals attend, so that they can let go, be non-judgmental. So for to generate an individual performance which is very satisfactory, you should decide how to cater in the from a spiritual component, from a personal need, so that he's not de-stressed out. And like I said, please identify from which generation this guy is coming from, and from which generation. If he's a Gen X, Y, or Z guy, so that's very, very important.
Okay. Thank you for that. And I think Mr. Ramanathan has got the answer already. So one more question that I could see from the chat is that how can we define what is health, and we have defined what is well-being and work-life integration. So from Sabapati, and should we not take a step back and define what work is? So what is your definition of what is life?
What is work or what is life? What is work?
No, what is work is? Work is. Work.
So that's why I kept, okay, that's why I kept saying an act that you do which sort of makes you very passionate about the act, and you are happy doing it and it's fulfilling. Why I'm saying these words are, um, see, because anything can be looked from a work perspective, no? So it really depends on, so that is why it's a very fascinating word also. So um, someone now at home chipping in and helping the spouse doing a work. So work, that's why I defined it as an act, which when in which passion, kindness, and you are able to sort of be compassionate to the other person, and which is also fulfilling for you. You're doing it selflessly,
Okay.
and somewhere when it comes to an occupational kind of thing where you're very performance driven because it is your bread and butter, there make sure you prioritize your physical and mental, and all this is very important. Health.
So thank you for the definition, how you have defined the word. I
Yeah,
think
because
it is
somebody who's see, if you ask a homemaker, a lot of people see, that's why there's a lot of discussion about see, in fact, if you ask in all your organizations, most men are dying to get back to the office. I am getting a maximum amount of distress calls with husbands saying, man, we can't handle staying at home with their better halves, okay? Because it's really hard, even though you say that it's so for them. So why I'm saying this is a homemaker's uh, work is what, if you say, she just has to run her house and run the home and doing the chore. It depends on how that person views. That is why I said from the beginning, work life integration is very individualistic. How much it is satisfying for them, how selfless they are. But yes, a homemaker also needs that walk, needs that exercise, needs some space, needs to needs an order from Swiggy and all. Sometimes, it's okay. Now COVID is here to stay, we have to be safe, but yeah, be flexible about that.
so. We will take only a couple of more questions because we are running out of time already 1 hour. But nevertheless, one question here. Somebody has asked. I'm not sure of the name. How can working women contribute in family, childcare, profession, social sphere, and the strive for professional excellence? Still take care of themselves. So what are your suggestions for that?
um, I think with women, I think we are wired to see. It really we fit into a gender stereotype, no? So a woman is supposed to take care of husband, child. Then last, we prioritize ourselves last. But I will also very, very emphatically say that uh, we live in, see, that's why cultural norms are important. See, this whole men, I mean, bashing men doesn't serve any purpose. If you're in a relation, if you are in a relationship where we are stereotyped in such a way that we have taken this role that we are the best mothers, we only can run the kitchen, we only can do things as thing. So somewhere that whole intergenerational thing has to change. So to answer your question, Janani, if you have a son, you must teach the son to wash the plate, help you cutting. We don't do it, no. So women are women's greatest enemy. We pamper the boy till he's 25, 30. Then when the boy gets married, the whole gamu changes in terms of the expectations from the spouse, because that's how we brought the boy up. So what I'm saying is, one is to break in the sense, change certain gender stereotypes so that we also it. So in fact, my professor who taught me psychiatry he loves cooking. So after whenever we've gone home, we would always envy his wife. She'll be chilling, he's cooking for us. Okay. So what I'm trying to tell you is, the solution is not that the man should enter the kitchen. See, that's my problem with a lot of women. We'll say, no, men should enter. Very hard for men to enter the kitchen. So somewhere bring in flexibility to how much you can allow. So let's just say your husband can chip in certain things, like when you want to relax, he'll take care of the child and everything. Please find that my time, Janani time, you should you know, like that. So that would be really, really, very, very important. And
So wonderful.
sometimes you need to sort of, sacrifice, and it may become very selfless, like that.
Okay, so well said. One more question or two more questions we can take probably quick. So some of us are used to working only in an office environment surrounded by teams. Because of this pandemic, we are made to adapt a different style of working. I find the time devoted blurs between home and work needs. So any strategies from you to prioritize and avoid guilt from not being able to do everything by one Lavanya Sridharan. Yeah, it's asked.
So, Lavanya, I mean, just overlapping on what I addressed Janani's question. Yes, it's very, very totally endorse, because, like I said, you're the boss. No, you're the big boss at home. So you're supposed to make sure you finish your organizational responsibility. You also have to ensure you organize things at home. So my thing is, without the point is, you must learn to feel less guilty. It's okay if you can't do certain things, and if you can talk to your partner and make sure that certain things, certain responsibilities are shared. And like I said, it definitely blurs. So I totally endorse what you're saying. And many a times, see, if you have young children who now online class is going on, and they demand that you sit with them, many a times you may, because the child may prefer you more to the spouse, so then that's why I said there are a lot of nitty gritties here which need to be addressed from the partner level. So here, this is where you guys talk about it. So every day you can't sit in the class. So certain, like I talked about boundaries. So you tell the child can understand that. You make sure that you get time for yourself. 3 days you will sit, for 3 days he will sit. Some divided labor, flexi schedules, and make sure you have a break. Okay. So right now, if you think, you'll feel good if you see, most parlors are offering safe measures. So if you think you just went, relaxed, got a foot massage, please do it like that. Relax.
Thank you. Ma'am, the last question I think we will take, will not take you much of your time. So one Mr. Ravi Mohan has mentioned, I am from 1980 generation. I find it difficult to adopt your work-life integration. Hence I quit due to COVID-19, and now I find it difficult to take a new role. So what are your suggestions to?
Mr. Ravi, totally empathize with you. Even I belong to that generation. So, um, so the ideal thing is that, see, usually with this group, you guys have a very black and white thinking. Okay. See, I don't want to generalize because I haven't talked to you more in detail. But one question I would ask is, why did you quit? Was it, so a lot of time, COVID-19, why did you quit from office would be my question. And the other thing with this black and white, meaning pandemic, fear, so it becomes all or nothing. Either I go to office when there's no pandemic, or I stay at home, which is safe and protects my family and me. So what helps in this is to think in the gray. That definitely, probably, we can help you. I can help you. Tad can help you to help you. So generally, this kind of where you're saying pandemic, I quit. You may belong to the group of individuals who have heightened sense of responsibility, little rigid, uh, very hard to become flexible. So there are ways to help you think in the gray. And so if you reach out, definitely we'll help you.
So with this, I think thank you so much, ma'am. With this, we'll get into the word of thanks, the valedictory. I hope all of you have cleared and we have taken extra minutes, almost more than 10 minutes extra of ma'am's time as well. So it's a time for expressing our gratitude to all those who have been part of this endeavor. First of all, I sincerely thank my friend and well-wisher Dr. Hema Tharoor for the illuminating session on work-life integration and psychosocial well-being. All of you agree with me that we had a great learning this evening. and looking forward to have more such sessions from you, ma'am. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this session, and it has been wonderful listening to you. And this webinar has not been possible with has been possible only with the technical support of the tech savvy and the ever smiling Mr. Venkatesh and his eminent team at Component. So on behalf of Wellbeing Work and IAP, from the bottom of my heart, I thank Mr. Venkatesh and his team for the competent and timely tech support. Thank you so much, Venki and team. I also thank Ms. Aspi Joyson for representing IAP to introduce Dr. Hema Perur today. And I express my sincere gratitude to the Wellbeing Work team, especially Ram Kumar, Sabapati Narayanan, Divakar, Dr. Malik, Arjuna Venkatesh, and for putting all this to run this webinar series, and again Aspi and Rachel for all of them as part of the Wellbeing Work team. And I also thank all the founding members of the International Institute of Psychotherapy. It's a huge list, so I'm just not going to mention the name again. So thanking all of them for giving the concern to collaborate with the Wellbeing Work and to deliver this Wellbeing Wednesdays webinar series. And I especially thank all the participants, because without you, the program is not a success, who registered and have attended the session. I think many could not attend the session, and they had some difficulty with coming into the webinar screen here. And those who have attended the session, we hope we continue to participate. You continue to participate in the future sessions too. I am sorry if I have missed to thank anybody, please pardon. Otherwise, looking forward to the session on the 4th Wednesday of November 2020, and soon you will get the details of that program as well. Thank you all, and have a good night.